Welcome to the final Inclusive Youth Leadership Training, Leading as a Team. During this training, we will talk about the importance of having a shared goal when working on a team. Learn the differences between exclusion, separation, integration, and inclusion. Understand how to assign roles on a team based on strengths, leadership style, and interests. And see the value in being a team player instead of always working alone. Throughout the training, you will also be able to see how the skills you have learned so far help with working on a team. There will be several points throughout the video where you will be asked to pause the video to think and take notes. This will be helpful for you as we wrap up the Inclusive Youth Leadership trainings. When building an inclusive team, whether it's a sports team, a club, or a team for a school project, it is important to understand the differences between exclusion, separation, integration, and inclusion. Let's take a look at each of these words. Exclusion is when people from one group are left out or removed from any interaction with another group, or when one person is left out from a group. Take a look at the image below. You will see that there are only purple dots within the circle, and all the colorful dots have been removed from the circle completely. Exclusion can mean not only removing people from one group, but it can also mean that the excluded group is not allowed to do the same things as the other group. Can you think of an example of exclusion? Pause the video and take a moment to think and write any notes you have. Now that you've had time to think of your example, here is our example. If one group of students were to hold a dance and not invite another group of students or even allow them to come, this would be exclusion. Separation is when people from one group are allowed to do the same things as people from another group, but are expected to do so in a separate place or on separate teams. Take a look at the image below. You'll notice that for separation, all the purple dots are in one circle and all the colorful dots are in a separate circle. Can you think of an example of separation? Pause the video and take a moment to reflect and write any notes that you have. Now that you've had time to think of your example, here is our example. If two groups of students were to both hold their own dance parties, but the parties were in two different places and nobody went to both parties, this would be separation. Integration is when a group of people participate in the same activities in the same space as another group, but the two groups only interact with people in their own group, not with each other. Take a look at the image below. You'll notice that all the dots are in the same larger circle. However, the colorful dots are in their own circle that does not mix with the purple dots. Can you think of an example of integration? Pause the video and take a moment to reflect and write any notes you have. Now that you've had time to think of your example, here is our example. If there were one dance party that two groups of students were invited to, but the two groups stayed to themselves and did not talk to or hang out with the other group, this would be integration. Inclusion is when there are no separate groups and all individuals participate together in the same activities in the same space or environment. Take a look at the image below. You'll notice that all the dots are mixed together in the same circle. Can you think of an example of inclusion? Pause the video and take a moment to reflect and write any notes you have. Now that you've had time to think of your example, here is our example. If two groups of students decided to throw a dance party together and involve everyone, this would be inclusion. It's time for a quick quiz. Imagine one of your classmates has a birthday party. Everyone in your class is invited. However, at the party, all the students who are in band hang out together, and all the students who play basketball hang out together. The two groups of students don't talk to each other at all. What is this an example of? A, integration, B, separation, C, inclusion, or D, exclusion? You may pause this video until you have chosen your answer. If you have chosen your answer now, let's see how you did. If you answered A, integration, you are correct. Integration is happening here because even though all the classmates were invited, they are not all participating in the birthday events together. Now that we have discussed exclusion, separation, integration, and inclusion, with some examples of how they apply with groups or teams, we will now explore the 5 stages of team development defined by researcher and psychologist Bruce Tuckman. They are forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. These are 5 stages that teams will go through as they work to achieve their goals. Understanding these stages will help you work through them on your path to team success. To see what it looks like for a team to go through these stages, make sure to check out the link below the video. The forming stage is when you form or create your team. This stage is very important in inclusive youth leadership because you will determine who is and is not a part of your team. As you begin to form your team, make sure that you include everyone who wants to be included. In the storming stage, your group will go through challenges and disagreements. While many people fear this stage, it is very important to the growth of your group. It will also help you learn new teamwork skills. When your group is able to work through differences, you will all become stronger leaders. Once you've made it through the storming stage, your group will find its rhythm. You and your peers will get comfortable in each of your roles. You will also find the best ways to communicate and work together as a group. Once your group has developed norms, or standards, for working together, you will enter into the performing stage. In the performing stage, everyone has found a role in which they can leverage their strengths and interests. The performing stage is the point at which your team is at the top of its game. The final stage of group development is called adjourning, meaning to come to an end. In the case of a team, adjourning is when your group's work together is complete and the project ends. Your group will then separate from one another and move on. Remember, just because your project is over does not mean you can no longer stay in touch with your group members. You can remain friends and even work together in the future. Keep in mind that not all teams will move through these stages in the same way, and the stages don't always happen in the order we went over them. Many groups will move back and forth between storming, norming, and performing. Keep these stages in mind and know that each of them plays an important role in helping your team achieve its goal. We have now covered all of the materials for this foundational inclusive youth leadership course. However, before we finish, we will take some time for reflection. Reflection is incredibly important in order to be a strong leader. As we talked about in earlier trainings, thinking about ways you can improve and grow will lead to success for both you and your team. We cannot improve and grow if we do not take the time to think about what we have learned and how we can apply it to our inclusive youth leadership journey. To start, take a few minutes to reflect on the following question. What did this section teach us about inclusion? Please pause the video and write down, draw, or think about any thoughts you have. You can also use this time to talk about what you thought with your classmates, friends, or family. Once you have thought about the first question, take a few minutes to reflect on this next question. Can everyone on a team be a leader? Please pause the video and write down, draw, or think about your answer to this. Be sure to say why instead of just answering yes or no.
Yes, everyone on the team can be a leader, but what makes a great leader being on the team is someone that can listen, someone that has a positive attitude, and someone that can encourage their teammates to do their best in everything that they do on and off the field. That is what makes a great team leader.
I definitely think that everybody has the opportunity to be a leader on a sports team, especially when it comes to a unified sports team or a unified champion schools program, club, or activity. I do think everybody has that opportunity to be a leader. I think that a lot of times with sports teams, a common misconception that comes along is that in order to be a leader on the team, you have to be a captain, which that is definitely not true. And if you are a captain, that is awesome, that's amazing, and you definitely have that opportunity to be a leader for your team. But if you're not one, you also have these other awesome opportunities to step up and be a leader, whether it's listening to your coach or leading by example, or maybe you're helping to show some underclassmen how to do something. You always have that opportunity to step up and lead. So you don't need to be a captain, and you don't need to be somebody that is the loudest one on the field. You can just simply sit back, and listening and respecting your coach is being a leader. So there is so many opportunities to be a leader on your team, and it's definitely important to take advantage of those opportunities and step up, and just know that if you have a position as a leader on your team, that's awesome. But if you don't, there's also so many other ways that you can step up and truly be a leader.
Yes, I believe to a certain extent that everyone can be a leader on a team by setting a good example to newcomers or underclassmen and working hard on and off the field. On the other hand, a team usually have co-captains who lead warm-up and cool-down at practices, organize team meetings and group hangouts, and have a close connection with the coaches. The only problem is the team needs to make sure they aren't overshadowing another teammate and knowing when to stay back in order to have that person be in the spotlight.
Anyone on a team can be a leader. A leader on a sports team goes far beyond just being a captain or a coach. A team member can be a leader by just simply following directions or always doing their best. When you're doing your best and following directions, you're setting a good example of what others should be doing, and others will most likely follow your lead. There are many other ways that a team member can be a leader by cheering for your teammates who are playing, or running their event, or just always having a positive attitude can set you up as a leader on your team.
Can anyone be a team leader? Yes, they can. Anyone can be a team leader. It's up to them and to the group. The group will tell if anyone can be a team leader.
Next, let's think about the following question. How are co-leadership and team leadership different? How are they the same? Once again, please pause the video and write down, draw, or think about your answer. Finally, let's take a minute to reflect on how it feels to be on a team. Please pause your video one last time and write down, draw, or think about your answer to this.
How does it feel when you're on a team? It's really happy. You get along with each other. It all depends. It's an enjoyment for being on a team.
There aren't many words that describe what it's like to be a part of a sports team, but one thing you'll always feel is that you're constantly surrounded with people who are working towards the same common goal, which is to create a more inclusive and accepting place for people of all abilities. The people on your teams aren't there just to get their volunteer hours. They're most likely there to help create a more inclusive and accepting world for all people, and are really going to show you the true power of inclusion and teach you a lot about life that you wouldn't be able to learn outside of your team.
Hi, I'm Kyle Norman, a U.S. Youth Ambassador from Montana. How does it feel to be on a team? It feels awesome. I feel included and would rather work as a team than alone or by myself. Teams are a great way to involve everyone and build friendships. Teams also allow you to gain ideas from teammates and share strengths. Teams build each other up, and through Special Olympics, athletes and unified partners come together to bring people with and without disabilities together. As the saying goes, team means together everyone achieves more.
Being on a unified sports team is truly just the most incredible feeling ever. I've never felt the way I do about being on a unified sports team anywhere else. It's truly amazing. I've had the opportunity to compete alongside with all of my friends that I've been able to develop these lifelong friendships with that I'm not able to develop in school or inside the classroom, which is awesome. And it's just given me this place where I feel I belong and I feel that I have a community to go to every day after school for practice, which is amazing. And I know when I started my freshman year, I didn't think that that was ever possible. I joined the unified track team as a freshman, and I was one of 3 freshmen, and I didn't have any friends on the team. I didn't know any upperclassmen or anything like that, and I was super scared. But I quickly fell in love with the sport, and I found a place that I knew I could go to and that I loved going to. I had a coach that was amazing and welcoming, and it just really gave me this community and this atmosphere that I loved being involved with. So that's how being on a team makes me feel. It's just the most incredible feeling ever, and I'm very thankful for it.
It feels amazing to be on a team because those people become your extended family and people who you can vent to when you need advice or encouragement and keep you on the right track. There are differences between the team atmosphere in regular high school sports and Special Olympics unified sports, which includes the levels of competition, the fundamentals of how practices are ran, and the out-of-state travel logistics and organization. I feel I belong on my past Special Olympics teams at my high school, and we always had great time together and building on our relationships with each other.
Yes, I do feel part of my team. My team makes me feel accepted and make me feel like I have a voice and matter in everything that is going on. Our team is just not a team. We are a family. Over the years, our team has grown to know each other so much better, and we know when someone is hurting, we know when someone is down. So what we do as a team is that we encourage that person not to feel down, not to feel lonely, and we encourage that person to participate in everything that our team is doing.
Great job taking your time reflecting on these important questions. This concludes the final Inclusive Youth Leadership training. Here are some of the key takeaways. Teams are strongest when everyone is working toward a shared goal and all members of the team are meaningfully engaged. A team can have more than one leader depending on the group's goal and what each team member's strengths and interests are. Inclusion happens when everyone has the opportunity to learn, grow, and fully participate with the whole group. Teams cannot exist when exclusion, separation, or integration are taking place. Before we get to your last exit ticket, let's watch one final video on inclusive youth leadership as a whole.
Today, we are going to talk about inclusive youth leadership. Inclusive youth leadership sounds complicated, but it's not. It just means young adults with and without intellectual disabilities come together to lead something.
This inclusion across the campus, not just...
I don't like seeing my friends alone or isolated during lunch. Right now, it's really hard to find people to come sit with the kids because they're worried about how other people are going to look at them. So that hurts my heart because that's what people they do. They put the intellectual disability first instead of trying to see the person for who they really are. So I decided to change that up. I came up with something called Spirit Sidekicks, which means a student with intellectual disabilities will have a partner without intellectual disabilities eating lunch with them and talking with them so that they will feel a part of the school. People often think because we have intellectual disabilities that you can't lead something. It's time for us to prove the world wrong and show them that we can do the same thing that they can do. No matter where they have come from, no matter what disability they might have, no matter how they may look, everyone can be a leader and help lead in their community or in the school. So the next time you do a project or do anything, try to think of a person with intellectual disability that can help lead with you.